look at. Okay, so talking about this then, I mentioned at the top of the stream that these guys, Elation, got in touch and wanted to kind of show me some of their lights and get kind of my thoughts and feedback on it. So they came down a couple of weeks ago now and brought me one of their lights, which is mainly, I think, what is the KL series here. So this is, as you can kind of tell from that kind of intro there, they're more of the theater and studio, and they're kind of on programmed motors and all that sort of stuff. So big boy lights. And Steve, did it say you saw them down at the show recently here in Wales and West show, and these guys are now trying to look at other markets, right? They're trying to just dip their toes into the photography market. And like this one here, for example, this KL Core IP, which is the one that they brought down, I think they brought down other bits as well, especially modifiers and that sort of thing. Yeah. Steve, do you know what lights they had on the stand there? It's probably this one, right? And this one here, the main feature of this is that they've now adapted it so it can take SFIT modifiers. So the sky's the limit, right? You can put on whatever modifiers you want. It's a serious bracket that they made for it as well. It's a heavy duty piece of kit, and this whole light is a heavy duty light. It's got some serious juice in it though. I'm not sure what it's rated at, but I did a couple of test shots a minute ago before I went live just to kind of see where it stood. And it's very bright. It's very bright. But as you can see, look, pretty like theatre lights. Typically, all these lights are going to be, controlled from a desk somewhere. Going to be controlled, from somebody. They're don't have a ton of controls on the actual lights themselves, but kind of industrial style lights. These things were kind of interesting as well. Talk about that in a minute. It was a huge round panel. Oh, really? Okay. No, I didn't see that. But they showed me this fella here. The KL Core IP is what they brought down. And I'm just going to load up Lightroom here a second. We'll just have a look at some of these lights. So, like I was kind of saying, this is kind of a bare bones light, right? Very kind of industrial. And I'm kind of stepping around it here, but it was like the controls of the back was on the back of it was not particularly intuitive, and there's a lot of features in there that we technically wouldn't use. So what I mean by that is they have this dimming control as to how much the LED is going to flicker, power and all that sort of stuff, and if you turn that flicker down so you get a lot of flicker, you have a very smooth dimming curve is what they call it, right? So you're able to get these beautiful fade to black, right? Which is what you got. Typically with our lights, we just turn it off, boom, job done. But for cinema and theatre and that sort of stuff, you want this beautiful fade to black. Now the only way you can do that is by switching kind of the frame rate of the frequency of the light down to achieve that. And it shouldn't be a big deal for us, but it is, because we have to remember how LEDs are actually mixing the light. So let's just kind of have a look at what we got here a second. So I just grabbed some test shots. Like I said, they literally just came down. We were kind of testing it here. So this is what happens when you don't have the frequency turned up. So it's kind of interesting. So I shot this on these. Have a look. So I was testing it, right? I was seeing like what can we get away with here. So this is f2.8 ISO 125, but you guys can't see this because it's behind my camera, but the ISO or the shutter speed is 3,200th of a second. So very, very fast shutter speed. Yeah. In fact, can we? I'm sure there's something here where you can show the view. Is it view data or something like that? You can actually show view options. Well, anyway, take my word for it. It's 3,200 per second. So this one here was 1,600. This one here is 800. Down here, 400th of a second, you can't see it. And so as that shutter speed goes up, we're starting to see the LEDs mixing in real time, which is wild. Now the reason this is happening is because this didn't have a white chip, right? So this is purely just RGB. I think it may have some other colors in there as well. I'm sorry, I can't remember, but it didn't have any white chips in it. So this is doing all of its coloring via the LEDs that it's got, which I think is the RGB one. Let's have a look a minute. So it says 400 watts here. So here we go. So RGB and then MA, which is is magenta and amber, right? So it's doing all of its color mixing. Yeah. Thank you, Vlad. Was it I? Thank you, Vlad. Well done. That just gives me that. Well done, Vlad. Well, that gives me the time. Where is that? View. Was it view options and then? Boom. Well done, Vlad, mate. Well done. Okay, we got there. So good lad. Good lad. So yeah. Come back a second. So yeah, so this is using RGB, magenta, amber. So it doesn't have a white chip. It's just using those 5 colors to mix everything, and it's kind of interesting because we see Godox doing it, right? We see Godox. Now Godox does have white chips, but they're usually in the middle, and then they kind of fudge the numbers at the bottom, at the top and bottom end. Yeah. Agreed, Vlad. Agreed. Yeah. So Vlad's mentioning that Blair, which I think is aperture, which is was it blue, lime, amber, indigo, and red. So yeah. So a lot of these different companies are going to have these different versions of which LEDs that they're using, and a lot of the times we saw with what the NOLED down here, right? Some of the issues that they have is power. So if you're doing like a lot of work with like blue colored lights, for example, you're losing a ton of power from this head. So what these kind of companies are trying to do is they're trying to add these other LEDs to kind of even it out. And this is what Profoto did with their triple white chip as well. So before, if you just had a warm white and a cold white, then if you're shooting at 2000 Kelvin, it's going to be far dimmer output than if you're shooting at 5,500 Kelvin, which is using both of the chips, right? So, and this is a good example here because you can see that if you just wanted to have this light set to a very deep blue color, you're going to be losing a ton of power, right? So different companies are now adding these other chips. So like Vlad mentioned the Blair, which I'm pretty sure is aperture, which is using blue, lime, amber, indigo, and red. So now when you're choosing blue, it may use the blue and it may use whatever indigo as well in there. It's like to kind of pump up the numbers a little bit, right? So, and that's kind of what's happening with these guys here. So you're able to get a far more consistent exposure no matter what the color that you're using, okay? But this doesn't have a white chip. So 400 watts as well, but this thing is very bright. This thing is very bright, and I'll show you my test in a minute. So one of the major aspects of this is that it comes with this lens on the front, right? That's part of the light. So it has this lens on the front, which is interesting because none of the other lights, like single point cob lights that I've used, has this lens on the front. Can anybody think of any? Like a lens that's actually on there, like over the LED to begin with? Kind of interesting. So this is the back of the light here. These aren't dials. These are aerials, and then you have this very small screen that is touch screen. Like, yeah, it definitely needs an app, which they are looking to develop as well. So lens on the front, kind of interesting. And let me just talk about why that is. So coming back to this point here. you can up the frequency of how the LEDs merge. So for photographers, we would just have it set to, I think 8,000 was the highest. So us as shooting stills, we would just shoot it at 8,000. So there you go. So they've turned the frequency up now. So now I'm 3200, 2.8, ISO 25, which is what I was here. Boom. Yeah. But the same, they've upped the frequency, so now we've kind of eliminated that kind of color banding, because now it's mixing those colors instantly. You think, well, why would you not just always have that? Well, the only reason you wouldn't do that is for that dimming thing, right? Which we don't do. Like, if we're not shooting video, we don't need it. But anyway, so these two things would never really conflict with one another, because if you would never see this. You know, you're shooting at 24 frames a second video, right? You would never see it. So it was just kind of interesting on that. Very, very clean, like not too much of a heavy vignette. This does have one of their things on it here. IP lens is what they call it, right? Oh, that's the S mount bracket there. Absolute beast. Yeah. Fresnel lens was beautiful. Fresnel lens was absolutely beautiful as well. So let's come back to this. So we got so we're just looking at these colors here, right? So what did I say it was? Amber and magenta. So here we go. So this is the kind of the lime green, and then we got that magenta. It was that's a very clean purple. I mention that because in other lights that don't have that, you're basically at the mercy of mixing red and blue. It can sometimes look nowhere near as punchy as that. Okay, so standard stuff, right? I was just kind of testing like the pure colors as to how it looked. Pretty good. Let's have a look. Coming on here, you guys can't see the bottom, I know. So this is just the face of it. So this lens is right there. So here we've got the settings. So 250th of a second, 2.8 ISO 100. So this is a max power. Now I tested this with what's this one? So 120, 100, so 250th, 2.8, 200 ISO 100, 250. Okay. I'm just trying to see where this sits. Okay. So this is so what we're seeing here is like the 150 power Godox, right? So it's really kind of struggling to maintain the same power, and that's fine. Okay, fair enough. The light that I'm looking at here is 500. So this is the Nanlite 500 watt. All right, so 800th of a second. I just shot this a minute ago. 2.8 ISO 250. Let's see the same thing here. One of these was, maybe it was further back. Oh, here it is. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Get rid of that one. So 800th of a second, 2.8 ISO 250, right? So this at 400 was noticeably brighter than the 500 watt Nanlite, and a lot of that is to do with the way that it controls that light being thrown out the front with that lens. So this light sends light. This light pushes the brightness out far more consistently with that lens on the front, and I was kind of like, oh, how does that work with soft light modifiers and that sort of thing? It was fine. Like, I put a softbox on it, I think here somewhere. It's beautiful, very 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 clean. That's a softbox, right? So even with that lens on the front, very very clean. Yeah. One thing that was very interesting to me was they have more range in terms of how they spread the light. So these kind of optical spotlights. So you guys have seen me. I love these things. You guys have. I've done reviews of so many of these different things over the years, whether it be the Godox one, the Nanlite one. These kind of projection units, right? Love these things. Incredible, beautiful, clean light, crisp light that you can do whatever you want with it. Obviously you can shape it, or you can get more, you can do clever things with gradients and that sort of stuff. You can even get these beautiful soft lights with it, because you can control exactly where it falls to bounce light. Love these things, absolutely love these things. Now, here we've got some sizes of some of those modifiers, right? So I always ask for the 36 degree one, because that's the largest one that Nanlite, Godox, I think Aperture as well, like they all do. Like their widest one is 36 degrees. So this is what these guys had. They had a same sort of thing. So this light was probably about 3 meters away, 4 meters away, and it was able to cover most of the backdrop. But they also do a 50 spread, which is pretty awesome. Yeah. So we've got like the normal ones, 36, which is what I have, which is what most of the widest ones do, but they do a 50, which means that you're able to cover a massive space almost instantly. Like I said, 3 meters away, and it's very, very even spread in terms of minimal hot spotting, hardly any vignetting. So this was the closest that I've actually come across to creating kind of daylight inside, because typically you want something like further back, right, to spread that out, to get that spread, because you want that hard light. The downsides of these hard light is that it's channeling it into this spot. Small rooms, low ceilings, you can't do that. This has a 50mm lens, which is just like full body, completely even exposure, head to toe, with the light being like 3 meters away, is wild, right? That seems super nerdy to a lot of you, I know. Like, what is he going on about? But if you do that with a softbox at 3 meters, and take a light meter and take a light meter of the face, exposure of the face and the feet, and tell me how many stops of light drops off from the face to the foot. It's massive. And you can go, oh well, Jake, my softbox is massive. It doesn't matter. Right, it's still going to be hot spotted, and it's still going to be only 3 meters away. So this was kind of really interesting. It has that lens in the actual light itself, and then you put another lens on it, which is what these are. All these are lenses here. I don't think you can see them. No, it doesn't show you the front, but they're all lenses, right? And that they're able to get this very clean spread of light in a very small space, which I haven't seen any other way of doing that. And again, that is the closest that I've seen to creating strong, bright, natural sunlight in a small space. Very, very difficult to do. Like a parabolic reflector costs $8,000, and that's how they do it in big fashion houses. Is they use one of those, and this is kind of doing it in a very clean way. So I was kind of impressed at that. Yeah. Tell me you put a beauty dish. I did, Vlad. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. I did, in fact, you're right. I did put the Bowens 22-inch one on. I've no idea what it was, though. It could be this. It's looking like it's fuzzy here. Yeah. I definitely tested it, though. That's definitely a softbox, right? Or might not be, but yeah, it could actually be it. See that drop off? Like that could be the beauty dish actually. Yeah, look at that beautiful drop off. Right. Those of you who don't know what I mean. Look at how it's lighting the face, and then look at how it drops off across the down the back of the head. Right. That's definitely the beauty dish, Vlad. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think the soft boxes was later on. But yeah, that's beautiful. So again, that's kind of interesting as well, because I was like, I have to test a beauty dish on this, because I presume what Vlad is thinking, the same as what I was thinking, is that if it has a lens in that, how is it going to cope with that diffusion cone in there? Beautiful, yeah, beautiful. Very, very clean drop off of light. It's funny because the guys who brought it down, I think, were like they're theatre based, and they I was putting these weird modifiers on it, and I was like going, oh my god, it's just like, what is this guy's crazy? So yeah. Hey Brian, how you doing, mate? Good to see you, mate. Come back to the stream. What file format does it finish with? Can I import it into Photoshop? What are you referring to, Brian? Which one? Are you talking about the the AI stuff, right? The retouch from me. I will say on that, Brian, is that when I went to export it, you could only view it in like Bridge or Lightroom or something like that. I would need to check that again. But that is a really good question. Yeah, what can I export it and then adjust it in Photoshop? I assume you'd have to save it out and then do it again. Yeah. Combine that with Godox mirrors and you get an actual sun. Probably will need 50-10 mirror, not the little ones. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, remember how you're always telling us to take BT? So true. Yeah. So Brian's in it now, and I'm always giving Brian shit about not shooting BTS, and Vlad just totally called me out. Yeah, that's funny, man. That's funny. Yeah, Vlad is right. I'm always giving you guys flack for not shooting BTS, and that's exactly what I've just done here. Yeah. But yeah, they had the grids in it and stuff where you could kind of channel it down. It's kind of tricky with the when I say the grids, the actual bars that you come in. So those of you that don't know, it's just kind of sheets of metal that you push in, right? This thing is so accurate with it being focused that because the blades are, I'm trying to dox myself here, but like, because the blades are basically overlapping, right? So you just bring in the blades down, like to kind of make it smaller. But one blade here, like this brown blade, is closer to the lens, so you can see how it's fuzzier than the one furthest away, right? Nerdy stuff, but it's interesting to see how cleanly this is focusing that light, because even the width of those two blades, and it was showing it as softer. So like, I mean, if you were going to do this, you would just use a gobo, which is just a flat disc, all the same depth. But yeah. But interesting light. Yeah. I think, look, and it's like, these aren't crazy cheap. I think, to get the whole unit and these expensive lenses and that sort of stuff, you're talking about $2,000, but it's not the end of the world when you look at the prices of other lights, and the fact that this was able to do something pretty unique. To be able to get like bright sunlight, full body, even exposure in a small room is actually kind of wild. Yeah, is actually kind of wild. Now, I only saw the 36 degree and it was very clean, but they said that they do a 50 degree, which is what we're looking at here. So I would need to see it for myself. But even at 3 meters, that was almost filling top to bottom of this backdrop here. Yeah, this is a massive backdrop, and he's got the auto poles going up here, and even on the 36 it was almost filling it. So 50 would easily do full body in that space, which is wild. Yeah. So Steve said he saw them at the show, at the Wales and West show there today. So they are kind of trying to put themselves out there in the photographic world. So something to keep an eye on, Yeah. Was it heavy? Yes, it was. It was heavy, Vlad. Yeah. Let's see what we got here. There are a number of projector type units that just use EF lenses. Sterling, that's absolutely right. Yeah. I don't know whether I tested it here, but they have very heavy vignetting. Yeah. Oh, here you go. So this is the spotlight, right? See how clean that outside edge is, and see how clean the exposure is from corner edge to edge. And then this is a EF lens. Technically, it's a Nikon lens, but it's the same thing, right? It's using a lens, and these lenses are not designed for light to go that way. These lenses are designed for light to come this way. So as a result, they're not great for this. I've used these, and if you just want to mess around, you can get optical snoots. I've got 2 or 3 of them here. Some of them are massive. They give you a decent spread. Others not so much, but it's very heavily vignetted. See how it drops off into the shadow as immediately. So it's nowhere near as clean. See this honeycomb and grid? You can actually see the pattern here as well. Terrible. So like, you're right, you can get them, and you can B&H and that sort of stuff do them as well, but they're cheaper and they're just nowhere near as clean. Yeah, nowhere near as clean. I used them for ages, but I would never ever go back now that I've got these. Yeah, this is what I mean. You can carve out a basically make your own softbox. So I'm shooting this through a scrim. So I just carve out this big softbox on the back of this scrim, and you get you get beautifully clean light. Yeah, just absolutely gorgeous clean light. Yeah, yeah. And because you're using this optical spot, essentially there's no hotspot, right? So if you were thinking that was a that was a regular softbox, it would be brighter in the middle. But here, there isn't one. Here I've just pointed it at the ceiling, so I'm basically carving out a square onto the ceiling, or here's like a V flat above the model, and you get this beautiful, just gorgeous top light. And again, useful for small space because you wouldn't be able to get a massive softbox up there, right? So yeah, these things are very versatile, very very versatile. So yeah. Let's have a look. I love those. I can put any lens I want to on it. That's right, Sterling. Yeah, you can. Yeah. By the way, I have no BTS from what I posted in the show sheet. No worries, man. Yeah. And just to come back to Vlad's point there, it is very heavy. I don't know whether they say the weight of this, but I think it could have even been 10 kilos. But there's no external unit. Yeah, so it's just all one. It's all one unit. So there's no control box or anything like that. Yeah, I can't see the weight there. Specifications. Here we go. 10 kilos. There you go. Boom. 10 kilos. So that is without the modifiers and stuff on it. So look, it's certainly not light, but you're only going to be using this with a C stand. Really, this is a proper piece of kit. Yeah. But interesting times, man. Like we as photographers and image makers and that sort of stuff. Like this is the gold rush. Like LEDs are so cheap now. I know they seem expensive to you, but you have to remember that 5 years ago, like a 1200 watt LED was like $6,000 or something. I was doing work for Panavision and they were like 15 grand LED panels and that sort of stuff. Trust me, LED have come down a lot in price. I'm not expecting them to come down much more in price, and this is why we're starting to see companies dip their toes into streamers and YouTubers and making lights for them, right? The kind of the photographic market is kind of really saturated, and I don't think that we're going to see prices come down much more than they have already. What was I looking at? I was just looking at the actual lenses and stuff here. Yeah. They did some other interesting bits, but this was the main one for us just because it was S-Fit and it had a lens on the front which was totally unique. These things were kind of cool. These were really great for lighting backdrops, which is what they use them for, right? So it's just a series of LEDs in this trough here, and they kind of use this panel on the back to kind of feather it as needed, and you get more of an even spread. So the further you bring this back from the background and then knock it down, it's actually easier to kind of get more of an even spread. That's just what they use it for. Yeah. So again, just kind of their version of the tubes for coloring backgrounds. But yeah, check these guys out if you want. It's kind of interesting bunch of stuff in there, and it was interesting to see something different. I worked with a lot of lighting companies over the years, and most of them are doing the same sort of thing, but this was kind of interesting with that lens on the front. Was a powerful addition. Yeah.